welcome, welcome, welcome. Come in, please
Come on
join us
in. Come
for a
on in.
brand new season. We
Welcome.
have a new episode of Coach Faith and Living starting tonight for first episode of our new series called What We Wish We Knew When We Were Younger. Tonight's episode we're titling Dear Younger Me, Dear Older You. Welcome, sisters. Welcome back for our next season. Hope
Woohoo!
everyone has been well. Everybody ready, geared up, and excited for tonight's conversation?
I
I'm so
am
ready.
so ready.
So ready. Good, good. Listen, so we were all hanging out together recently, chatting, and we were talking about school starting again here in Louisville, Kentucky. My daughter had her first day of school today, and I know different times. Sharm's got uh, her oldest going off to college this weekend. People are entering a different season, right? And so, as we were talking about this, it prompted the question, what do we know now that we wish someone would have told us when we were their age? And even maybe a more important question of what conversations should we be having with our next generations so they don't have to learn everything the hard way like we did.
Mhm.
Here in the Clemens household, we have a phrase that we use talking about how I want my ceiling to be my kid's basement. Like I want to hand off to them so they can go farther and not spend their years trying to learn things that I already did. It took me forever. And so, as we were having this conversation the other night, it prompted me to think about Titus. Titus chapter 2. It's a short book and a short chapter 2. It's a short chapter, and in that chapter, it's about only about 15 verses, but the main thing is that it's prompted me to think about starting at verse 4. This whole um, chapter talks about handing off to the next generation our wisdom. And so, just we're going to read a couple of verses to you from starting at verse 4, Titus 2, chapter 4. It says, these older women must train the younger women to love their husbands and their children, to live wisely, to be pure, and to work in their homes, to do good, and to be submissive to their husbands. Then they will not bring shame on the word of God. And so we just continued this conversation, and I want to jump in with my sisters here and ask you, um, what do you wish that someone had told you when we look at our kids, the ages they are now? If you could sit back and have a conversation with 18-year-old you or 15-year-old you, what do you wish somebody would have told you? Sandra?
Wow. Well, thank you for putting me in the hot seat, Terry. Taking me back to my youthful years. Hopefully, I still look youthful, but I
You do. You
remember.
do.
Thank
Always,
thank
always.
you, Charmaine. I remember feeling this sense of urgency to find my purpose in life, you know, wanting to know what was coming, what was next. And so I found myself researching and looking and, just doing too much instead of taking the time to enjoy the process, enjoy the journey. I couldn't wait to become an adult. It's
Mm,
like as if becoming an adult was the goal. And so I remember just reading too much, looking at things from, as if I was already an adult. And my teachers will always tell me, take it easy, go have fun, go for recess. And, I, I would always avoid going for some of the hangouts and things my classmates would be doing. I even felt like when they would have those talent shows, I don't know if you guys remember having talent shows in your school. Yeah.
yeah.
we used to have talent shows where people would go out there and would display all kinds of dance steps and things like that. And I remember just being in the back and being like, oh my gosh, I can't see myself doing that. Oh no, I can't. But then I would come home and I would try to do my own slide, and it was just funny. Horrible, horrible. But I just wish I could go back and just be in the moment, because there were things that I feel like I didn't get to experience. Sometimes people will tell you you go through school and school doesn't really go through you. I think that was my life. I was in the library, I was always studying, I was trying to chase, after success, and now I look back and I'm like, man, how I wish I took the time to enjoy the process. How I wish someone would have told me, hey, you don't have to make A's in all your classes. No, I don't think my mom would say that. But I just wish I took the time to be a little bit more, if you would call it, rounded, socially, physically, do more sports. Maybe I'll have like six pack, and maybe I have something to flaunt now. I don't know. But looking back, I just wish I took my time. And um, I'm trying to do that for my kids. I'm trying to tell them, take your time, enjoy the process. Adulthood is, it's I don't know, it's not really what you think it is. And nobody can really prepare you for it until you get there.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Do you wish that there was someone specific that would have told you? Or do you think there's a way that they could have said it to you differently at that time that would have made you understand better?
I feel like, the culture back then, and maybe the household I was in, we emphasize so much on success. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, but there's this saying that Nigerians don't carry last. Like, we have this thing in us to want to go for the prize, go for whatever it is that is the prize. And so most times, I remember till this day, my parents will always ask me, the person that took second in the class, I mean, the person that took first in the class, if you took second place in the class, the person that took first place in the class, did they have two brains? Like, why didn't you take first place in the class? And sometimes they would joke and they'll tell you, well, if you do this, you get this. And we were always trying to go for that, that
Yeah.
main, if you would call it, main prize, or trying to push through to make sure we're the best in everything. So I wish my parents sort of didn't put that much pressure on me,
Yeah. Yeah, I
and maybe,
remember my dad used to do this. My dad did something similar. I would bring home an A and he wanted to know why it wasn't an A plus.
yeah,
And like you said, some of the time it was joking, but there was some truth behind it.
yeah, the pressure.
Yeah.
And you
See, I put that pressure on me.
Yeah.
really,
I, 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 I had very encouraging parents, but I was the one that was like,
Yeah.
I could have got an A plus. I only got an A.
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. What about you, Sean? What do you wish you knew?
How much time I have, because I have a lot of lessons. I lived a lot of life, made a lot of
Yes.
mistakes, and it's a lot of
Same.
things that I wish that I knew.
Yeah.
So I tried to like condense it into like three
Give me
buckets.
a top three.
Right, I give you a top
We still
three,
got
and
20 minutes. We got top three.
I'm gonna put it in the bucket of health and wellness, right? Like, and we're
Mhm.
talking about mind, body, soul, spirit, because as someone who struggled with alcohol addiction, as someone who battled food addiction and suppressed my emotions, like I learned a lot of lessons around these things. Tears were considered bad. It was considered weakness.
Mm,
I
Yeah.
experienced burnout. So, as someone who struggled in those areas, I learned a lot of lessons that I'm gonna share with you. And so, the
Yeah.
first one is, it's interesting that you said what you said, Sandra, because I was thinking like urgency, having an urgency of your assignment. That
yeah,
time isn't guaranteed. And
Yeah.
so Psalms 90:12 says, teach us to number our days that we may gain a heart of wisdom. And I think one of the biggest lies that we tell ourselves is that we have time. Oh, I'll do it
mhm,
later. I'll do it later. I got time. Like
Yeah.
time is unlimited. And the more
Yeah.
we say, I have more time, that lie we tell ourselves, we keep putting things on the back burner. But when it comes to understanding our assignment, and if we understood that time isn't guaranteed, it helps us to stay focused on what matters in a world full of distractions. And I took advantage of that because there was a lot of things I kept delaying the assignment that God had given me. He had called me since I was 16. And because I felt like I had time, oh, I'll do it
Mhm.
later when I get old. Old is now when I was
Mhm.
16, y'all. But think about how much impact how much God could have done if I would have just said
Yeah.
yes when I was 16, if I would have really understood that our days are numbered, right? So that's one. The second one, I'm thinking about like your mind, body, soul, and spirit are the essential pillars to living well. Like if you think truly about it being pillars that hold you up, then you become a better steward. And if one break, like they're all interconnected. It can't be like, let me focus all on my body and then you're not focusing on your nutrition, or let me focus just on my mind and you're not focused on your soul and your spirit. Like we got to invest and be stewards over all of it because the Holy Spirit indwells in us.
Yeah.
And so when you consider it as a pillar, then you become more intentional about investing in yourself, and it keeps you very stable in a world that can be very unstable, and
Mhm.
you're not being tossed to and from. So I wish I knew then what I know now. And then the other one is, I know it may seem difficult to talk and walk with God because you cannot see him, but the more you integrate your faith daily, and it becomes a muscle memory
Mm.
that you build, and it
Amen.
becomes second nature to pray, to go to God, to talk to him, to just be in his presence. It frees you from the pressure that you would put on yourself to win favor by man.
Mm.
And
That's
so
good.
my reference is Colossians 3:23 through 24, is do everything as unto the Lord, not for man. And sometimes we forget about the Lord because we can't see the Lord. We can see man, and then we put man over God, and then we get all types of messed up. We get caught up in striving, we get caught up in people pleasing. And I wish I knew then.
Mhm.
You're going too deep.
I know
Slow
I'm
down. Because I honestly cannot imagine your 16-year-old self having all of that figured out. But
that's
that
why
was
it's I wish.
Yeah. That's what,
I'm like,
wish
girl,
somebody would have told us.
you're going
Right.
to
Right. And
you're
so let
going
me
to
ask you,
do.
Sam, do you think that that's something that your parents could have given you, that knowledge when you were that young, or do you think that's something that you could have got from your church family had they explained it in a 16-year-old language?
Oh,
Because
sure.
what
So
you
I
said
think
just
that's
said
a
right
great
then, I'm sorry.
I say I think that's a great question because I can't say that they didn't tell me.
There you go.
I did not receive it.
That's what I
Yeah.
was going to say.
Yeah.
Because
We
of the timepiece. I was so focused
Mhm.
on me having more time. It's like, okay, yeah, I'm I hear you, but I ain't hearing you.
Mhm.
I'm just gonna
Right.
save it in a deposit for when I get old, and then I'll remember it later. But right now, I'm just gonna live
Mhm.
my life. No.
Right. Right. But we've been having this conversation several times recently around the house too. Is that because we have a an early 20-year old? He's 23, almost 24 years old, and I've been trying to explain to him for a few years that the things we're telling you now, like they'll start making sense because medically speaking, your frontal brain is not fully developed until you're about 25 years old. Sometimes in boys, it's even later, right? And so those concepts that we're trying to teach you, um, you're that's about that age where you start going, oh, that's what they were talking, that's what they meant, that's what they were. And so I mean, really teachers are angels, right? That they can break down these bigger concepts to these little kids and teach them how to read and to write and things, because you really just have to address these things on a different level
Yeah.
when you're talking to younger kids. And so especially teenagers, they look like adults and they're using big language and stuff like adults, and so it makes it really easy to forget,
That they're
you
not.
know both my oldest and my youngest, especially, like they were always around adults, so they had adult and have adult language. And it's easy for people to forget that they're talking to a 10 or 12-year-old, right? And because you get look, I want to make sure I tell everybody too, and you want to make sure you hang around for this series, because later this month you're going to get to meet Jazzy, and you'll understand exactly what I'm saying now. You hear some of the things she says and the way she thinks, and you don't think of her as being 16. And
Yeah.
that's the way it's been for years. And so I just bring that up because that frontal brain, like, you really just kind of have to break it down to them in a different way. um and so, yeah, that's why I just was like, do you think 16-year-old you would have got any of that concept?
Yeah.
If you're
I
if
had
you're if you're
somebody.
pouring that into Zach before he leaves, is that something he's gonna understand as he goes away to college? He might not now, but by the time he comes home in 4 years, it'd be a different conversation.
And Terry, let me tell you, even some adults still don't get it. So
What you said,
That
what you
part.
said.
That part. I actually had
Yeah.
someone from my church home when I was younger who wrote a letter to me. She was maybe late 30s, early 40s. She wrote a letter to me because she saw the calling on my life at a young age. And
mm,
I wish I still had that letter, y'all, but she was just really speaking what I'm speaking now. Like, don't wait. Like, God is calling you now. Like, don't think that you have all of the time in the world. Do it now. Say yes to the Lord now. Allow the Lord to use you now. And sadly, she passed away. And so, like, after I found out she passed away, I'm looking. You know how you try to find something and you keep looking in the same spot, hoping that it'll just reappear. That's what I was
mhm.
Yeah.
doing, trying to find that letter, and I could not find it. But I remember the Lord brought it back to my remembrance. Thank you, Jesus, about the wisdom that she was imparting in me at such a young age.
Yeah, that's good. I think that for me, like you said, there's a lot of things, right, that I could look back and I'm like, I wish I knew, I wish somebody would have told me, and from various ages. But I got married 2 weeks after I graduated high school,
You could not
and
wait. Woo!
I could not wait. I was in love, girl, and I'll tell you what. But I wish somebody would have explained to me what marriage was really about. I
Mm.
Mm,
remember later when me and two of my siblings all got divorced within 9 months of each other. My mother thought she was going to lose her mind. And she said to me one day, she said, mine and your dad's marriage was so easy. It just came so natural that she thought it was her fault because she never taught us what marriage was really like, how difficult it could be, because that's all we ever saw was the good side of it.
yeah.
And but even I'll say, even only in the last 5 to 10 years have I started learning about kingdom marriage. And like, I can look at my parents and I can reflect then, like, oh, that's exactly what they were doing. They never went to bed mad, and they treated each other with love and respect, and all of these things that are biblical characteristics. But nobody ever sat down and told me that I was not supposed to love my husband. He was supposed to love me, and I'm supposed to give him respect, because that's what the word says. Nobody. And I remember being younger and asking these questions about faith things and marriage, and I even, at work one day, there was a clergy from the hospital clergy, and I was like, I have a question. Can you answer this? It could not answer it. Like, so even in the church, it's hard to like break this down right sometimes. And so that was a big one for me. And then also, taking your health for granted. I wish somebody would have explained to me about perimenopause and what it does to your body and your muscle wasting, and what
Explain
carbs
that
does to
to
your
you at the
body
age
leading
of
up to then.
16. Wait,
Do what?
explain perimenopause at the age of
No, I'm
16.
just saying, like your health, like the
Yes,
importance
I
of taking care of your body. Yeah, yeah. Nobody ever. But even in my listen, so this is what this is about too, y'all. This is generational conversation. So
yeah,
we're talking today about what if we were 20, right? But this is
yeah.
something that the older women in our lives should be telling us about.
Tell
Like
me.
we shouldn't be afraid to have these conversations.
Mhm.
Um, and so the older women are supposed to pour into the younger women. That doesn't mean, the 40 and 50-year-olds pour into the teenagers only,
Yeah,
right? That means that I'm older than you all. I should be pouring into you.
pour
And
into
my
me, mommy.
sisters are older than me. They should be pouring, like people around me, my first lady at church, and they should be pouring into me and saying, "Hey, wait, is this happening? Is this going on? This is how you deal with this."
In their
And so,
defense, though, in their
yeah,
defense, I can't say that it didn't happen. It's just that now that social media has
yeah,
evolved, we've become
yeah,
more
Oh,
exposed to people's
yep,
testimonies, to people's stories. And so
yeah,
now we can
yeah,
learn from other people outside of our household too. And so, like,
yeah,
older women before social media, they may have been doing what Titus 2 speaks to. It's just that they couldn't do it at the magnitude that it can be done now because they couldn't get in front of a camera and be like, hey y'all, listen, let me teach you real quick
yeah,
what I
yeah.
learned over the past, like they couldn't do that. So I
right,
mean, now we have more opportunities to not only focus on the ones that are within our sphere physically of influence, but then we also have our social media world of influence too, and we can impart
that's true.
those nuggets so that we can continue to teach each other.
I love
Yeah,
how you
that's
said that, Coach Charm, because even with the opportunity of having social media, it creates more variation of information, because
yeah,
some cultures you can't really speak about things in an open manner.
yeah,
So having social media creates that, if you will, brings down that barrier where you might not get it from your home, but somebody else's household might be talking about it. So you get to hear about it. Maybe
yes,
your friend's mom might post something about what she's going through on social media. Maybe your someone in China might post it. So you get different cultural, if you would call it, variations, different experiences, different stories. And so you get all these information out there that can really speak to different types of women, as opposed to
yes.
before, where it was whatever your mom told you, and that's it. Your mom said you can't touch a boy. She didn't explain to you why you couldn't touch a boy.
Why you can't touch a boy. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you
So,
get married and you don't want to touch your husband because you've been told not to touch a boy.
right,
So it's
right.
just all these information that we are all of a sudden exposed to because we have the means to get to
Yeah.
it. And I just love how you put it.
Yeah, that's so true. And so talking about this though, social media is in culture. Those are two big reasons why, we didn't have social media when we were younger, right? And the cultural differences. But why else do you think that our parents and adults in our lives did not tell us things? They
Mm.
didn't tell us about lessons that they learned the hard way, and things that they struggled through, and help us move forward. Why do you think they didn't tell us?
I'll tell you an example. I remember after I had my first child, I called my mom. I said, Mom, you did not tell me how much pain, what it actually meant to have a baby. And I remember my mom just being quiet on the phone, and she said, Nothing can prepare you for it.
Yeah,
You have to experience it. And I was like, wow. So now I try to tell my friends, I try to tell everybody, like I am so candid when it comes to my experiences, but you still have to be willing to receive it.
Yes.
Some people don't
That's
receive candid information. Some people hide even when you're telling them this road is closed. They still want to go see for themselves, you know? So again, yes, some people are not comfortable sharing information because perhaps they didn't come out, they didn't get the information from other people. So they don't even know how to give what they really never received, right? And then there are other people that I think don't have the right language for it.
Mm.
yeah,
They know
it's
they've
true.
been through something, but they can't really express what they've been through. So I'm thinking, hey, how do I explain to someone in China something that I don't know if it actually applies to them? Or how do I
Yeah.
explain to my child about some of my sexual urges if I don't know if the child will ever have those kind of experiences? So sometimes we wait to
Hmm.
see if these things will come about before we even share it. So you're not passing on information that would may or may not be relevant. So there
Yeah.
are three sides to it: ignorance, no language for it, and maybe just not sure if it is relevant.
Yeah. What do you think, Sharm?
Relevant, or I would say, we just did a series on freedom, and they may not have the freedom to be able to share. Like, I know that I am very open and transparent about the experiences that I have. Not everyone is walking in that freedom to be able to share. They
Yeah.
may hide some of those scars,
Hmm.
and some of it could be shame, some of it could be lack of exposure to people who are more free and willing to share their experiences. And so it's just a whole, like, that's a whole episode in itself, like really
Really
unpacking
is.
why
Yeah.
we hide our scars. You know, I'm
Yeah.
going to tag it to you because I know that your coaching is about scars before
Yeah.
we, Terry.
Yeah, so that's true. My coaching platform is called Scars to Start, and it really is based off of Jesus' scars. And the first thing he did was he showed his scars so that people believed him. And in our society, we are taught to hide them. We cover them up with makeup or clothing, or when we have physical scars, right? And so it's even that much easier to hide our scars when they are emotional and mental, when they're addictions, when they're not things you can physically see. And so we talk a lot in our society about you don't know what somebody's been through. Anybody could be having a bad day. Treat everybody the same. We say those things, and it's absolutely true. You should, but you don't know the scars that somebody has. And when you start having those conversations and you actually listen to those scars, and somebody has the freedom to talk about what they've been through, um, it makes a huge impact for the kingdom. And that's why society, this earthly realm, I'm not trying to get super churchy, but then in our flesh, we're told to not talk about it. And we really need to talk about it, because it's what helps ourselves and those around us, other people that we love, and other people that we have the opportunity to impact. When we share our scars like Jesus did, look at the freedom it gave us when he shared. Okay.
Yes.
Wait, is that okay? Um, but people think that the kids are too young to understand. And I think this is one we talked about shame. We kind of brushed over it, but we don't want our kids to know that we failed at something, or that we had a bad habit or proclivity or whatever you want to call it. And so we have to be more open about sharing so that, again, we can pass the torch off to our kids and they can go farther than
Yeah.
we did and impact the kingdom even more than we are, right? Because I wish that, like Charm, like when I wish I would have understood so many years ago what I know now about what my kingdom assignment is, so that I could have been so much farther, right? But as we're running out of time tonight, like you said, we could have this conversation we're going to continue this conversation in different variations over the next few weeks, over the rest of this month. So please come back and join us. We continue talking about all this. I want to end tonight with a challenge for everybody that hears this, and the challenge is to have a conversation. Let it be one of your kids, niece, nephew, some younger person that's in your life. Have a conversation and ask them, what is it you're struggling with? What are you thinking about? What can I help you with? What are you worrying about? Have the conversation and be open about your experiences. If you don't have a young person in your life, it doesn't matter. It can be somebody younger at work. And, then start thinking about, even for yourself, what do you wish somebody would tell you now? What are you looking for an answer for now? And have that conversation with your parent, an older sibling, an older coworker. My mother-in-law gets tired of me. Uh, but those are important conversations. So the challenge this week is to have them. Seek out at least one, and then come back to the comment section here or on any of our social media platforms and tell us about it. We can continue this conversation for the rest of the month. All right. Anybody else have anything you want to say before we close out tonight?
No, we missed you, and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode.
Come back and let us know how you answered or did your challenge, okay?
Yes.
We can't wait to see you guys again.
So we thank you so much. Thank you for blessing us with your presence, and we will be back next Thursday night for you with more of the conversation. We look forward to seeing you then. Have a good night.